James Ham a little fuzzy on his camera today, but James, what's happening, my friend?
Isn't it called the Ohio State?
It
No,
is, in fact, the Ohio State. That is correct,
they're
James.
lucky I put the state on it because typically we just call them Ohio.
That's awesome.
Cool. Be factually inaccurate.
Factually inaccurate.
Ohio.
Ohio. Yeah. Yeah. What's going on, guys? How are you?
Man, we here, baby.
Make it.
I do want to mention Serena Williams in about an hour. I'd watch this one. She's playing the number 2 player on the planet. So just in case, I'd tune in. She was knocking off a lot of rust in that opening round. I hope she got rid of it all, because if she didn't, if she played like she did in round 1 tonight, this thing will be over by 4:40. They'll be doing tributes from 4:45 to 5:30. Like you get in there quick on this one. And then the WNBA semifinals continue tonight with the Aces in the Sky looking to even their respective series at 1 each.
Quick side note: you see Osaka lost last night?
Yeah.
Oh, first round. Oh man.
She I don't know that she's I don't know that her heart's in tennis right now.
I know what you mean.
I think she wanted I think she took that break, and I think she probably wanted a longer one than she actually took, and that's tough. We talked about this with Brady. When you start talking about retirement, you've kind of got to your brain is elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And though Naomi wasn't talking about retirement, she needed to get away from the game. I think it's tough to step that. Next week, James, we're leading into the week 1 of the NFL season. We can start developing these now, because if next week comes around and we do our 4 in and 4 out, and we say, yo, give us one hot take. I'm leaning heavily towards, my hot take is Brady's gonna Brett Favre this thing. He might not make it till the end of the season.
Wow.
That's an interesting hot take, and to be honest, like, you can't blame him. What he talked about, like, look, I'm 45 years old. I got a lot of S going on.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes sense. Like he's around my age. I know exactly like how difficult life is, how you're managing a million different things at this stage of your life. And, you got kids that are a certain age, you got parents that are a certain age. You just got so many things that are moving pieces. And at the NFL level, if you're not 100% committed, then you're in trouble. And when his offensive line started taking a beating and started dropping out, that puts a scary proposition going on back there. Like, do you really, if you're a quarterback that's that age, 45, like, you don't want to go out with a blown ACL. Like, right. You don't want to go out with not the way you wanted to. You want to go out on a high note. And I feel like he felt like he was forced to come back this year, that there are other people that made commitments to be there because they thought he would be there. And by him coming back, it really did he was pushed into it. And that's just not the way to go about it. Especially, this is a 17-game season now. And he should sit 5 games, or he should sit fourth quarters all the time. Like, there's no reason for him to be out there this whole time.
James, can you remember
Brady playing 3 quarters a game?
Comes in the second quarter.
No, but if there's someone that you could put out there for the second quarter to start grooming, why not? Other teams have done it where they're bringing along a quarterback.
Too bad they don't have a Jimmy Garoppolo. Only we have that here in San Francisco. And Jimmy would be an option, but they don't. They can stick with whatever sorry backup they got, since people say backups don't matter.
It's Blaine Gabbert.
I said, they can stick with whatever sorry backup.
It's Blaine Gabbert.
They're playing the Blaine game.
Oh, man.
Oh, man, that's tough.
Blaine has been in the league a long time, though. Keep getting them checks, Blaine.
Yeah. Wait, isn't Nate Sutterfield open? Isn't he available?
No, he got picked up by Detroit.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he could start there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. The Jared Goff slander. Jared Goff, who's just apparently not a part of Hard Knocks this season. I got to watch last night's episode. Was it last night? I think it was last night. I got to watch last night's episode. I'm not caught up.
Yeah. My son is trying to talk us My son is trying to talk us into keeping DeAndre Swift for a fantasy league, and I'm torn. Like, 'cause, you're talking about a Detroit's Lion running back, and there's only ever been one of those. So, and that was a long time ago. So it's tough.
Well, you should pick up. You need a Detroit Lions running back. Pick up. What's my guy's name? What's his name? Damien. It's not Swift.
Jamal Williams.
Yeah, he's passionate about this.
Yeah. He's very passionate about this.
I get emotional about this. I'm about to cry.
I got you. I got you. When I pulled that sound this weekend, I got the full clip. When I pulled that, it was damn near 2 minutes. I'm gonna tell you this: if we ever huddle up, all of us together, and we got our hands up in the air, and James starts giving this speech, and he gives us one of these,
I get emotional about this. I'm about to cry.
and you're 90 seconds into it, I'm leaving. I'm like, look, man, look, I know we stunk last year. I don't need all that. I'm walking away. That speech was hella long.
Well, look, here's the killer about it: is the coach gave his speech and was like, "Hey guys, let's get after it. All right, let's break on 3." And they get together. Coach gave his speech. Everybody were winding down. Here he comes with an extra 2.5 minutes. Like, bro, just say Lions on 3, family on 6. 1, 2, 3. Like, let's move on.
Wrap it up, bro. Like, what are you doing?
Dave Chappelle, the wrap it up music.
Wrap it
That's
up.
awesome.
Oh,
Hey, James. Have you been around any guys with the Kings or anything who've kind of been in a situation like we talk about with Brady, where it's like you kind of came back for another year, when whether it was with you were with another team before and now you're with the Kings, but it was like, man, I shouldn't really. I'm kind of done, but I feel like I have to come back. I got to get this one last check or finish this off. But mentally, they were done with the game.
That's tough. Like, I've been around players. Yeah, okay, so yes, there is at least one player that even like after he signed during the summer and we bumped into like his former agent, and his former agent was like, man, that player was done 3 years ago. Like, he didn't want to play anymore. What's he doing there?
I
And
think I know
it's
what
like,
you're talking about.
he got a 3-year contract and it was big money, and it's like, it was like a weird situation where like his love of the game hasn't been there, and he has other interests and stuff like that. I mean, you've been around a little bit of that, but also like Zebo coming in and playing in a totally different location and getting a big paycheck, his last year in the league, and watching Vince Carter come through, although Vince was in it. I think Vince used every single locker room session as a way to like hone what he was going to do on television when he finally hung it up. Like, that's what he was looking to do, like fireside chats with Vince Carter. But like overall, like most of the young guys are like, they're fully in it. Yeah, I mean, you do have some players that don't have that drive, but they're still like, they want to get paid.
I'm sorry, Dan, but with that, it's a little different than what Brady goes through, or even a football guy goes through. Because to be, honest, if you're a Zebo or somebody else, it's like, yeah, I see the end of the road. I'm about done. I got to get these checks, finish out the contract. For lack of a better term, you could hide on an NBA roster. Like, you can not do much of any. Like, it's a little more bearable to finish out that way if you're not fully invested, as opposed to Tom Brady's trying to lead the Bucks to a Super Bowl, and he may not even want to play. Like, that's a completely different thing.
Yeah, and it's a really good way at the NFL level. It's a really good way to get hurt. That's what it is, because you have to be like 100% like alert and ready to play each and every moment, because things can go south so quickly. And so you hope that he is. You hope that, the level of commitment is there, but at the same time, I get it. Like, he's got a lot of stuff going on. He's asked his wife and his kids and his parents and extended family, like, just keep holding on. Like, I'm almost done. And then you think you're done, and then they drag you back in. And I mean, you ask a lot of the people around you, like doing the job I do, it's a commitment for not just me, but like for my family as well. They know how many nights a year I'm going to be gone. They know how much time I'm away. They know, my wife knows that I have to bring a laptop with me every time we go out to dinner. That there could be something that happens, and I've got to jump in and start pounding away on the keys. And so yeah, it's a different lifestyle that if you're not 100% in it, it's just not worth it to do.
James cracked the code. Giselle was pissed. Tom ain't slept in the he ain't slept in the room in months. He said there's a lot going on.
Yeah, like
there's a lot going on.
if you don't think she wants to go out and see the world and enjoy all the hundreds of millions of dollars that those guys have earned between the two of them, and like,
I'm gonna guess she has and she does.
yeah,
That's just a guess, though. She
yeah,
makes more money than. Not only does she make more money than Tom, she makes significantly more money than Tom.
between all of his stuff, you think so? I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, she was. I mean, I don't know what she makes now. She was for years one of the top supermodels on the planet. Yeah, that money trumps NFL money, like in a major way. And Tom was why do you think Tom was taking all those deals in New England? $10 million? Yeah, cool, bro. Like whatever. My wife netted like 250 last year, so cool.
Yeah, that's crazy. But yeah, but I still think, at a certain point, you just need to go move on with life. And I hope that they get that point. And, he's probably going to end up doing football forever, like being a commentator, but he might take a few years off. I hope he does.
No, he's got the deal already. He's got the, what is it, a $500 million deal with.
You're trying to get that Giselle money.
Yeah.
He's going to make more money in his 10 years with Fox than he's going to in his 20 years or whatever it's been in the NFL.
Yeah.
I guess the flip side of this would be posting workout videos all off season. We said De'Aaron Fox in the gym, pictures getting posted back from his honeymoon. He's working. He was at Kendrick last night. I'm sure James was at Kendrick Lamar last night as well at the Golden One Center. But do you think that was, and I'm not like, I've always been on the side of De'Aaron, dude, live your life, bro. Like you don't have anything to prove to anybody. But do you think there was a conscious effort by De'Aaron Fox for workout pictures or videos of him to get posted?
Yeah, I think with most players it is. And I also think that there are people around you that like they read too much. They're on social media and they're like, "Oh man, like people aren't talking about you the way they should be talking about you." And so they push those buttons and try to get you to do, the workout videos and stuff like that. I think it's good that, that Fox is in town and it's not even September yet. That he's been in town for the last couple of days, and we see Rashawn Holmes there. Keon Ellis was there. Keegan Murray's there. Chima Moneke is there. Like, the earlier the band gets back together, the better. And I know there's been 2 other like non-sanctioned but team workouts this summer that the Kings have undergone. And this is kind of one of those moments so where it's time to start getting everybody in the door and to have them at the concert together, but also like I have a friend who is at the merchandise line, and there was a little sliver of a window she could see into the practice facility, and there was Rashawn Holmes and his son playing on the court, actually getting shots up. And so like these guys are here. The focus this year is different.
These guys have been here for a while now too, right? Like it's not like they just got here, and De'Aaron obviously had his wedding and everything, but Herder and the Mets, who before they started playing their Eurobasket thing, they were still here. Rashawn Holmes was here. Well, we go back to Mike Brown's introductory press conference, and all those guys were here working out. That's why they were able to be there. One of the reasons why. So, I mean, yeah, it can't hurt. It's good. I'm a little, I'm aware of it because we saw everybody for the most part get together last year. I think it was when they were in LA. They did stuff with Rico, but I think Marvin and Fox weren't there, but everybody else was. And that the season ended up the way it was. But maybe Fox trying to be take a little bit more of a leadership role, realizes like, hey, they do things like that. It is important maybe for me to be there and be a part of those type of off-season sessions and galvanizing these guys. So maybe it was a learning experience when he wasn't there.
Yeah, that, and I mean, you got a new coach. You got to learn everything about a new coach. And I think De'Aaron has been around, this is his fourth head coach entering his sixth season, but he's been around long enough to know that terminology and schemes and all that stuff, like, you need to spend time. You need to get comfortable. You need to have conversations with those coaches and really, like, let the information sink in, what they're looking for. And switching out coaches all the time isn't a good thing. It's not conducive to success. But it's certainly something that if you know how to deal with it, you can actually get a jump on what it is you need to learn to be ready to be the floor general the next, starting in September.
Are wins and losses the only true statistical measurement of a successful season for De'Aaron Fox?
In year 6, yes.
So if he improved like from 3, you got a little better defensively, but for some reason that didn't result, and I won't go as drastically as 30 wins, but let's say it results in a season that everybody dubs unsuccessful. De'Aaron's wearing that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's tough because there are so many things that go into a season. Like, what happens if he gets hurt and it's not, whatever the record is, it's not his fault? What happens if there are major outbreaks, or for that matter, if it's not him who gets hurt, but it's Sabonis, or it's, or it's Harrison Barnes or Keegan Murray that goes down for a long stretch. Like, those are things you can't control and you can't pin it on one player. But when we get to the end of this season, this is a year where, like, we just talked about this, me and Brendan and Sean on the Kings Beat podcast we recorded like a little bit earlier today, that very specifically, this feels like the one year where, like, if you're going to score 25, I need you to score between 20 and 30 a night. I don't need you to score 25 every night. I don't need you to score 30 every night. But what you can't do is score 12 a bunch of games and then score 40 or 38 a couple of games. Like, we need to see, like, that be, like, the consistency of De'Aaron Fox. And even, like, if I take away the offensive side, because I think he's relatively consistent on the offensive end. But on the defensive end, like, if he needs to find consistency this season, he needs to show that he can do it for 82 games or for 75 games. And that needs to be like a focal point for him. And so while we've seen, like, his career go up and down, and if you really break down the seasons look the same. Like, within a season, he can have a really bad October, November. He can have a really good December and January. He can have a bad February, a really good March. Like, these are things. He needs to find a way to level everything out and be that consistent player. And if he does that, then I think the Kings will win more games, and I think he will get the accolades that, that a player of his skill set and like his athleticism and talent deserves.
James, what do you attribute that to, in your opinion? Is it, it's probably a combination of both, but is that the players around him, or maybe his attention to detail and staying locked in throughout an entire season? Do you think he has a tendency to, during certain periods of the season, just kind of start coasting?
I don't know that's, I wouldn't call it coasting. I know we had this situation last year where he missed, 8 games leading up to the break. I don't know.
That was a protest.
Yeah, we'll get to the bottom of that at some point. I'm not going to say that. You guys can say that, but I'm not going to say, as someone who covers him on a daily basis.
No, we just messing around anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so incredibly difficult to put your finger on all the problems that the Sacramento Kings have had over the last 16 years. But I'll say this, I wrote about it on Sunday, and, like, the team that they put together 2 years ago that opened the season, right? We're talking about the year that they lost Bogdanovich, the year that they signed Hassan Whiteside and Glenn Robinson III. 7 players from the opening night roster are currently not on an NBA roster. And that just can't be the case. Like, I know people want to blame Luke Walton for being a bad coach. I know they want to blame De'Aaron Fox for being inconsistent, or Buddy Hield for missing shots, or whatever it is you want to blame. But the problem is when you walk into a season and you don't even have a chance to compete because the talent around you is not good enough, Well, that's not on Fox. And we can say, that Fox hasn't done enough or he's missed too many games. You can say a lot of things, but at the same time, like, give him talent. Like, this is by far the deepest team he's ever played with. Sabonis is the best player he's ever played with. And for that matter, if we even take it another step, Harrison Barnes is the best third player. He's the best third option player that he's ever played with. Because Harrison Barnes, up until this date, has been the second best player on this team. And so, like, you do have this weird situation where all of a sudden he is surrounded by players that should make him more successful. They still didn't get the defensive player they need and all that stuff. But, like, look, you can't just blame. It's just like you can't just blame Vivek for 9 years of futility. You can't just blame, Dave Yeager. You look at his 3 years, and 1 year he has like a loaded veteran team. The next year he has 5 rookies and the whole team is blown up. The third year he wins a bunch of games and can't get along with people and he's gone. And those are 3 totally different years within a 3-year span. So, like, consistency, we keep asking the players to be more consistent, the team to be more consistent, but the franchise's inconsistency is the biggest issue. And that's, like, at the end of the day, what you have to kind of circle and say, like, who else would succeed in this situation? And that's where I think I give De'Aaron Fox a much longer leash than a lot of people want to.
Completely fair.
Yeah, I just, man, it feels like the weight of this franchise is entirely on his shoulders this year. And I understand that, to a certain degree. I hope all of this work he's putting in this offseason pays off. I think Mike Brown. Man, it's hard to talk about stability, James, when we're still wondering what's going to happen with Monty McNair.
Yeah.
Like, because I wanted to say, okay, maybe we're finally laying the foundation of stability. Oh, that's right. The general manager's contract expires in like a minute and a half. You got to get this addressed.
I think that, like, we're at that point where sometimes you do see something get done right before the start of the season. If not, the one good thing is that Monty is not a distraction guy. He's not someone who looks for chaos and lives in chaos. And so he's probably going to be a good soldier and just do what he's going to do. And it will be from the outside that you start hearing more and more noise. But yeah, I mean, you know what that is? It's 100% avoidable, right? That's what we start looking for. Like, every year I give a general, like, win prediction, and then some years I like it ±3, right? And then every once in a while you're like, okay, this is more like a ±8. And people look at me like I'm crazy. Like, I think they could win 37 games. I also think in a good way they could win 45, but they could also win 29. And people always go, oh, you're letting yourself off the hook. It's like, no, I'll be specific. If they can avoid the drama, then sure. I think this year specifically, there is not a lot of drama on the team itself. Like, is there drama with, the fact that they don't have a full medical staff yet, a training staff? Maybe a little bit, but not really. They still have people that are there, that they've had like a complete changeover of media relations, training, medical staff, most of the coaching staff. Like, those things are there are a lot of changes that have happened. So yeah, I mean, I think we want to see a drama-free season, and that would equate to like a better run here.
Do you, when you think about De'Aaron Fox time here in Sacramento and everything that he's gone through, do you think that we always talk about, I'm trying not to like say it the way people say it, but just say, do you think he's gotten beaten down by the losing, by the turmoil, by everything that's going on? Because at one point it felt like it was like that, but I feel like this year he's, for whatever reason, this offseason, he seems like he's a little more rejuvenated. Like, whatever was bothering him the last year and a half or so, I feel like he's been rejuvenated. Do you see the same thing? Or?
And you're talking Fox?
Yeah, Fox.
Yeah, I think he's rejuvenated. I think he.
Not to cut you off, but do you think there was a time when they kind of, took his soul a little bit, everything that was going on around here?
Oh, totally. I mean, like, you can't look at the beginning of last season and think that De'Aaron Fox was 100% right, like, as a player. Like, there was something going on. Like, we haven't been able to get to the bottom of everything, but we know enough. We know enough that, like, just the culture of the team wasn't good, and, like, chaos ensued. And part of that is because players underperform. Part of it's because, like, people weren't pulling on the same string and playing together and all that stuff. But yeah, I think that was the first time that I really feel like he may have lost his way a little bit. But as soon as you saw him play with Sabonis for like the first time, you saw the joy of basketball come right back to him. And so I think that that's what makes a lot of people around Sacramento like kind of like, okay, I think they might be onto something here. It's also what makes, like the pairing of him and Sabonis, like it's exciting. Like those two could be exceptional together. And I think when you see the joy of basketball come back to somebody, it's not the first time I've seen it leave. And you hope that players that doesn't become like part of the norm, but it just is. It's human nature. When bad things happen in a season and it rolls into the next season, the next season, the next season, like there is always that oh no moment, and you want to avoid that.
Only good things happen when James Ham is with us here on ESPN 1320. We'll come back. We'll talk more Kings basketball because why not? Training camp starts in a month. Like we're so hyped for next Thursday to get here, and then our first full weekend of NFL football. Yo, we'll be counting down to media day at the end of September, leading into the first practice, and then we're off and running talking Kings basketball. We'll talk more with James Ham when we return here on ESPN 1320.
I'm gonna duck out and pop back in because I clearly have blurry screen. Am I still blurry?
No, you cleared up a while ago.
Oh, okay, cool. Well,
Yeah,
I can't tell because mine's always been clear on this end.
Yeah, it kind of like went in. It was really bad to start, but you sounded fine, so it didn't matter.
Okay, cool.
And then it cleared up. Yeah, you're good.
Hey, low-key trickster, just no. The Kings already have 4 centers. Like Montrez Harrell, and he doesn't play defense at all. I like Montrez, and I wish he would have been part of that trade last year, but no.
KC, peep that email from Samantha when you got a second, and we can talk about it when the show's over.
Oh no, I saw it.
Oh, you thought? Okay, we'll talk about it when the show's over.
Is there anything going on?
No, it's just about an account that I don't think either one of us had heard anything about for probably like 5 months.
Yeah,
it's reemerged. So it's like, okay, wait a minute, what's happening here?
from the dead.
Yeah, back from the dead on Easter Sunday. Shout out Kevin Harlan.
Did you guys see them blowing up Arco?
No, I didn't see it at all. No, was not tagged in that video 47 times. Definitely not.
Nice.
Definitely didn't see it.
Yeah, I saw Sean's tweet of it. We didn't even talk about it on the pod, which is interesting.
Oh gosh,
Blew up the whole thing.
Arco blowing up for the 47th time.
Amazing.
They didn't even blow up the whole thing. Still got a whole nother side.
Yeah.
Maloof level dynamite didn't get it all. Jesse, did that work? Oh, this. But oh shoot! All right. Well, no, I was always in. You're logging in from a new computer. I went in and actually changed the email, so that's why you got that other code. That code was for your email. It was just to change the email over. You should, if you just tried to log in and it said, well, like if it says like send me another code or send code again, like click that. Like it should go to your work email address. And if I messed it up, like I'll fix it after the show. I thought I was able to do that. Oh, how you doing, James?
I'm good, man. Yeah, just talking all day. It's a little dude's 15th birthday today.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, a little mini me.
John Bowles, I'm not right in UCLA. These are Michigan.
Oh, looks like it.
Get your mind
Oh.
right. Michigan shorts, Wolverines.
Did Trista really call Sacramento the Bay Area? Come on, Trista.
Yeah. Well, and she kind of clarified it a little bit. She's like, I didn't mean they're in the Bay Area, but she was talking about, we talk about the Niners.
Oh, see, and she was just trying to show him some love. She was just trying to show us some love.
We'll jump you when you talk about
Oh yeah.
the Bay
Oh
Area.
yeah.
We will jump you about that.
It'll go down. It'll go down. It'll go down.
So much chaos out in the world right now.
We really have such a great group. I mean, Trista and James and Kyle and Chris Biederman's coming home this year. We got a great crew. Matt George.
Oh, I missed a Trey Sermon. Got waived.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
We're on the pod. Yeah.
Coming back, guys. Hang on. Sorry. Coming back. I kind of feel like James was just about to tell a 49er story that I'm kind of interested in, because James just learned that Trey Sermon was waived, and you were about to tell a story about being on the pod, and I was hoping that it was you were recording a pod when you found out Jimmy Garoppolo was coming back.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, but are we still gonna get a picture every day, a drawing every day of?
That's a great question. Have we gotten?
We have. I saw one today. If I was that young lady, I'd retire. Like the jig is up. I'm not doing this every day. I thought he was leaving. He's not. I'm done. I'm not doing this.
You could just tweet, I've got nothing left to prove. I've got nothing left to prove.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, we're not going to continue to do this. It was cute at first, but now if I'm the lady, it was cute at first, but now they really got me working for another 365 days. No, thank you.
I think she's made a good amount of money though.
Like, well, in that case, I got another picture coming.
That's true. Yeah.
I want to pay me to draw pictures on Twitter. Psh, by all means.
All means, yeah. Let's go.
By all means. You wrote about the training camp battles coming up at the end of September. Which one sticks out to you the most? We've obviously focused on the third point guard position, but which one really stands out to you?
Yeah, so today I did focus on the point guards. I don't know. I don't think that. I think the good thing about the Kings camp is that we know De'Aaron Fox and Harrison Barnes and Domantas Sabonis sort of have, like, everything is cemented. We know how much they're going to play. We know that they're going to start. But then after that, I think everyone is competing for either a rotation spot, a spot on the roster, or for minutes. And so I think that that's good when you have healthy competition, and that's sort of, the iron sharpens iron thing. I think it's one of the few times where I can remember a camp where most of the questions weren't already answered. And I think we can guess that Kevin Huerter is going to start at the 2 and that Keegan Murray's going to start at the 4, but we don't know. That's speculation. And the 3 guys that are always there that are going to play, 32 to 35 minutes a night in Fox and Barnes and Sabonis, then it's just a crapshoot. And so I think that that's a good thing. I don't think, there's probably 5 guys competing for 2 roster spots, maybe 6 guys. I think that's good when you have competition for roster spots. I think this time more than any other year, we saw the Kings shell out a bunch of money for partial guarantees. I can't remember another season where guys like Chima Moneke getting $250,000 to show up to training camp, and another $250 if he makes a roster. And but there's a bunch of guys that are on that type of contract, and that tells me that the Kings are investing more in the 11 through 15 of the roster, as opposed to, again, 2 years ago where Daquan Jeffries and Justin James and Robert Woodard and Jemias Ramsey were all on the roster, and none of them could really help you. They weren't ready to be NBA players. So, yeah, I think this is a good thing. I think competition is a good thing. I think having Dellavedova and Quinn Cook battling is good, and Kent Bazemore working against KZ Okpala and Chima Moneke and really fighting it out for a position there, I think that is a good thing.
To your point, James, I'm a big believer in Pete Carroll and his style at USC, where, he fostered an environment that said it didn't matter if you were a senior that started the last 2 years. If I got a freshman that's coming in and playing better than you, freshman is going to play. And they always credit that level of competition every day in practice as to part of the reason why they were able to go out and be so successful in the Pete Carroll era. And it's different because it's the pros or whatever, but I like that approach and like what you're talking about to this Kings team. Let's compete for minutes. You know what I mean? Obviously, Fox, Sabonis, they're solidified, but Keegan Murray, nothing's going to be given to you. You're going to have to outplay Harrison Barnes when he's playing at the 4 when you're going up against him, or Kevin Hurt or Malik Monk. Nothing's handed to neither one of you guys. That Davion Mitchell is outplaying you in practice. He may get the lion's share of the minutes. So I really love that competitiveness that I'm hoping is going to be in this training camp going into the season.
Yeah, and this is one of the few seasons where I can remember where there's not players who just really just flat out don't belong in the league that are there, and that's kind of like it's a big shift. But there's always like this stack of players who are either they don't have any experience, or they're 19, 20 years old and they're so far away from being who they might become. And this is more of a veteran squad, even if some of the veterans are young. What Herter and Monk and Fox and Sabonis are all 24, 25, and 26. Davion's 23. Like this whole entire group is kind of around the same age, but that also means that they're usually on, either their second NBA contract, or if you have an older rookie or second year player like what we see with Keegan and with Davion. Like it's a more mature group, and it just feels different than what we've seen in the past, where you dream of the days of like the Rick Adelman era, where it didn't matter who went down, you had somebody else like ready to step in. If Chris Webber got hurt, you had a Scott Pollard, and same with Vlade Divac there. But you had Bobby Jackson sitting there, you had a Hito Turkoglu, you just had all of these players, Jim Jackson, and again Bobby, and like there was always this line of next man up. Well, the Kings can't have a next man up mentality when you walk into the season. I've talked about it so many times. 2 years ago, the roster had like maybe 6 NBA players that were going to actually play and see the court. But even within that group, you had the fastest point guard in the league in De'Aaron Fox and the slowest point guard in the league in Corey Joseph. You had one of the fastest power forwards in the league in Marvin Bagley, and one of the slowest in Nemanja Bjelica. So even when you had enough, like a handful of players, they didn't even match each other. Like it's like, sure, I got 8 pairs of socks, but all of them are different colors. They're all mismatched and they don't fit together. And that's what I kind of feel like for a long time. This might be the first season where so many of the pieces kind of fit seamlessly together.
You just ran down a bunch of like past players who I feel like, you talked about the Jim Jacksons, Bobby Jackson. Those guys were established. Are there any negatives to, you mentioned Malik Monk, Kevin Herter a moment ago. Do those guys have something to prove? And are there any negatives to that?
And not having someone that has something to prove?
Or having a bunch of guys that feel like they have something to prove?
No, I think that that's a good thing to have a bunch of guys that have something to prove. But I also think that the mistakes of a bad team it's usually around not having defined roles. So you got a bunch of dudes who all think that they can still be Michael Jordan. And they're not Michael Jordan, but no one has told them that yet. And even if they did, it was a coach, it wasn't the person they wanted to have them tell them that. And so you have all these people that still think that they can do something that they just can't do. And a really well-oiled machine at the NBA level, everyone has a specific role. They know exactly what that is. So this year, Kevin Huerter knows his job is to float around the perimeter and hit a wide open shot. Malik Monk knows that there's a good chance he's coming off the bench and he's going to be asked to be a flamethrower. Like, get the ball out of your hands, get the ball up at the rim, score points, do that stuff. I just think that this is one of those few years where, like, the defined roles should be pretty simple. Like, if you're going to play, like, if Kent Bazemore's going to play, you're going to bring energy, you're going to score a few points, you're going to play defense. You don't need to do too much, do less, just go out there and do exactly what your role is, and we should be okay. And I just think that the Kings, it's been so long since they've had that system in place. And, it's something that Rick Adelman took to Houston as well. Like, I've talked about this so many times, that when they won like 21 games in a row, Yao Ming and Tracy McGrady went down in like game 11 and game 13. Your two superstars went down and you kept winning. You won like 10 more games. And that's because Rick Adelman always had a next man up mentality. And I don't remember another situation in Sacramento where they either had a coach that was able to promote that or a roster that actually was able to sustain that. And that's a problem.
Yeah.
It sounds like there's a lot of managing of expectations that has to happen here in the first few days of training camp.
Yeah. No, I think so. I mean, you need to show what you can do. And it might not be the first couple of days of training camp. But after the first couple of days, that's when a coach starts pulling guys aside and says, okay, do you understand what's happening here and where you're going to be? Yeah. And then, like, we're not going to try to have you prove it in preseason. If we're going into preseason, you need to do X, Y, and Z. I don't need you to do the whole alphabet. I just need you to do those 3 letters. That's it. Keep it simple and know your man, know your role, know what your expectations are, bring energy, and do the things that we ask. Don't try to do more than that. And so that won't be easy for everyone. I mean, especially for a guy like, just say, for not to call one single guy out, but like Chimezie Metu, and he started over 20 games last year, and towards the end of the season, like, he's able to do whatever he wanted. I remember games where we're looking at each other like, why is Chimezie Metu shot 9 times in the first quarter and he didn't start the game? And you're just shaking your head. Well, that's not going to happen. I don't see that happening where, like, it's kind of freewheeling and whatever happens. This is going to be a lot more defined. And I think that that's where Mike Brown, we hear how, he's so, like, nuanced, and, like, he knows exactly what he wants from everybody. Everything is color coded. Everything it's taught to ad nauseum. And, like, that's what this team needs. It needs defined roles, define minutes for players, and honesty if a player's not going to play.
There's more that they can, like, elaborate on that as the season goes along and training camp goes along. But when you talk about defined roles and people being exactly understanding exactly what their role is that more so for the guys like a Metu who were here last year? Because I would think the guys that they've picked up over the summer, Herter and Malik Monk and Keegan Murray, talking to him, that's a conversation that should have been had when they either acquired that person, or in Malik Monk's case, was trying to acquire Kent Bazemore, all those guys. Like, hey, this is what we're coming in and we're looking for you. The adjustment may have to be more so on the guys who are already here, right? Who are used to something that they had going on last year, and now it's a complete shift in what they're asked to do on a nightly basis.
Yeah, totally. And, like, we bring up Bazemore. Well, when Kent Bazemore joined this team, what was it, a year and a half ago? In the trade for Trevor Ariza, is that 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago?
Yeah.
When he joined the team, like, what they needed from Kent Bazemore at that time and what they need from Kent Bazemore now is totally different. They need him to come in and be a veteran leader and play defense And again, maybe hit a basket or two here or there. They need him to bring energy. Like that other team, they needed him to score 10 or 12 points a game. Like they needed that from him if they were going to succeed, if they were going to stay in a game, because he was one of the few bench scorers they had. Like the expectations just have to be different. If Alex Lynn is coming in the game, it's to set high picks, to rebound and to block shots, and that's it. Like we don't need you shooting a bunch of threes. We don't need you trying to do like 6 post moves. Like this is what your job is. You need to do it. And so I really do think that like having defined roles, it like not having defined roles is really the mark of a bad NBA team.
Could, with this coaching staff, having looked at everything that the front office did over the course of the last, handful of months, I'm sure they're entering training camp with like an idea, a thought, and like here's our depth chart. Here's our plan in our head before we even start. And once you start, it could change. Could Terrence Davis throw a monkey wrench in a lot of plans if he comes out and it feels weird to say if he comes out and looks really good in training camp. Well, yeah, if he looks really good in training camp, and let's throw preseason games in here too. If you start to watch him and you're like, man, TD got something cooking right here. Is he the one guy who could really throw a wrench into some things that Mike Brown and his coaching staff may have preconceived notions about?
I would think so. He is the one guy that stands out. Like, I mean, you pretty much know that Fox and Mitchell are playing. You know that Herter and Monk are going to play. You know that Barnes is going to play. So that's 5. You got Sabonis, which is 6. You got Rashawn Holmes is 7. You got Keegan Murray, that's 8. Most NBA rotations are 8.5, 9 men. They rarely go up to 10, and you go up to 10 when things have gone south and you need to mix something up because something's not working. So who's going to be that 8.5, 9 man? And it's very possible that that's Trey Lyles, and that Trey Lyles is going to come in because he can shoot the 3 ball and he's a muscle guy and pushes guys around. It could be Chimezie Metu because he's a super athlete and might be great on the back cut playing with Sabonis. But you have to kind of look at where those minutes are going to come. We know that Herter's going to steal a bunch of minutes at the 3. You know that Harrison Barnes is going to move over and play some minutes at the 4. And it could come down to how many minutes does Harrison Barnes play at the 4 versus how many minutes does he play at the 3. And what should determine that is if someone else steps up. So whether it is, a Terrence Davis who eats that role that could also go to Kent Bazemore, or is it going to be on the other side where it's either Chimezie Metu or Trey Lyles who earn that spot? Either way, Harrison Barnes' ability to play both the 3 and the 4 is always been like a magical thing for the Kings, and maybe even so this year a little bit more. So again, if they're going to run a bunch of 3-guard sets, then you really need 5 guards to do that, and Terrence Davis goes in there. If they're going to run a bunch of big man lineups, then that's going to eat away from that small ball mentality. And so,
yeah, obviously we talked about it a number of different times. I like Terrence Davis. I like Trey Lyles and what he brought to the table as well, man. I think you can get, especially in this role, having him as some type of backup, I think you can get productive minutes out of Trey Lyles. I like what I saw from him. James, I got to ask you a question. And I'm just asking here, non-Kings related. But it's time to shut down Eurobasket, right? Like we can't be playing those games no more, right?
Yeah.
Now we got hurt. We got to shut down Eurobasket.
No, look, we just talked about this on the podcast too. Like, I think that if you look at Eurobasket and the way that it's so refined, I mean, it's legitimate. International play is legitimate, like basketball with, like their regulations and their 3 officials and like everything is like, do you want all of your players playing every summer in FIBA World Cup? Probably not, because they'll wear out a little bit. But at the same time, like it's structured. And so like, I don't hate the Pro-Am, and I don't say abolish all Pro-Am. No, I don't say abolish all. But what I'm saying is like, some of these things need to be vetted. Some of them, there needs to be some oversight by the league or by the Players Association or by somebody. There needs to be some communication about like where fans are at, like what the court surface is like, whether it's a legitimate NBA arena or a legitimate spot where you can put NBA players on it or not. And that would be my only, push. I also think if you're a player that is going to go play in some Pro-Ams and stuff, you probably need an insurance company for an insurance policy for your team, because Oklahoma's out $10 million for Chet Holmgren this year, and it's the NBA, so you just go, oh, it is what it is. And now they've even applied for like the injured player designation, and so they can get $5 million back. So not only do they have to pay Chet $10 million, but they might have to go out and spend another $5 million to bring someone else in to fill some of the role. So it's complex, and I think there's a lot of moving pieces to it. But at the end of the day, I think that there should be some at least basic oversight from the league, and maybe there is, and we just aren't hearing that side of it. But when you see that a game gets called right after, like, maybe 10, 15 minutes after Chet Holmgren gets hurt because the playing surface wasn't legit, had condensation built up or whatever it was, like those are things that in advance, if there was like say 2 or 3 people from the league for some of these bigger events saying, okay, like, look, we need to make sure that there's security. We need to make sure that there's this many security people, that there's this much clearance on the baseline, so we don't have like the Paul George thing where he didn't step on a foot, but he's took a bad step under the basket. But like you see some of these events, and there's so many people that are almost on the court, and like player safety has to be something that's discussed at this point, in my opinion.
Real quick, Damien, I agree. I understand that. But what actually happened, that actually seems the most fair of all. Because if I'm Chet Holmgren, no, I don't need to sign anything where if I get hurt, you take away my money. Give me my money. And NBA, who's streaming this Pro-Am, who's trying to get some ratings off that, yeah, how about you give the OKC more money to go spend and get another player, as opposed to Chet having to lose money for playing, or player X. NBA, you about to sign a $3 billion TV deal. Give them $5 million to go get another player. That seems like the most fair thing.
Or just have, like, again, if that's what you want to do for during the summer, then have an insurance policy. It's just like when,
James has an insurance policy for Santa Claus in case he gets stuck coming down the chimney.
Yeah.
James is covered. You ain't going to take Amsterdam away from him. James built that chimney. And if Santa gets stuck in it, he's covered.
Gremlins. You forget Gremlins. That's what happened. That's why it is Phoebe Cates, right? I think that's why she hates Christmas, because her dad got stuck in the chimney and they didn't find him. Yep.
Damn.
So yes, there is a reason why you have an insurance policy for Santa Claus coming down your chimney. Not really, but when it comes to playing basketball and like, it's your livelihood. You could just say, they have a major injury or let's just say that Chet Holmgren is never the same player. And you just sign him to a 4-year, $50 million something contract, and you're just now on the hook for that. It's guaranteed contracts in the NBA. That's
hey, tough. If we treat these players like stocks, that was a risk. You make a risk every time. Hey, you lost. Hey, sorry. My financial person always says, well, you don't lose anything until we sell. All right. Well, you don't lose anything until you give up on Chet Holmgren.
I think
Bagley wasn't a lost cause until he became a Detroit Piston. Then you lost.
Yeah, but there's losing something because a player isn't good enough, and there's losing something because he got injured doing something else during the offseason. Those seem like two totally different things. So I get the comparison.
He was playing basketball. It's not like he was riding a motorcycle with Ben Roethlisberger or Jay Williams. Like he was playing basketball.
Yeah.
We're never going to agree on this. James is the corporate champion, as we played out before. We're the people's champion. James is the corporate champion. We clash every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday here, and have fun doing it. Make sure you check out the Kings Beat. Head over to thekingsbeat.com, become a subscriber, a premium subscriber. to the Kings Beat newsletter as well. Check out the Kings Beat podcast, available wherever you get podcasts.